Hello, and today we are able to watch Hans Rosling's video on HIV/AIDS. And for me personally, I've had partners and I've always been worried about contracting HIV. But I've made the choice of always going and getting tested to make sure that I'm okay. And we encourage anyone that's sexually active to be tested for HIV. It was really interesting to listen how in some countries HIV is very prevalent, in other countries it's not, and that it doesn't target just a specific group. It targets the rich, the poor, the unborn. What were your guys' thoughts on today's video?
I mean, you were just talking about how it affects everybody. I think it's interesting how we put so much emphasis on the fact that the sub-Saharan African countries are so affected by HIV and AIDS, but it's actually interesting to know that the rate of HIV and AIDS in these countries is actually similar to some United States cities. And so sometimes we assume that somebody is like in a bad situation and we don't take the time to look at ourselves. And I think it's interesting how we just kind of throw them in their own category and assume that they're causing a problem when we have the same problem.
And just playing off of that, something that he said was that many people just say that HIV is really high in Africa. That he made the statement that it's just very different, like their culture and their traditions and everything is very different from here. How they get it, and
they don't care as much about it.
how they give it to other people, like it's going to be a lot different. And I also like the fact that he just said that it just wasn't respectful, that we just kind of assume that just because it's Africa, that they would have the highest rates or whatever. We need to be more respectful of it.
I think another thing is, remember, is whenever you think of HIV, like it's quick contact, but I mean, like it comes through other ways, like needles or like even like blood-brain contact. And I think it's important to remember, like that people in Africa and those countries that have it, that it's not always really that one way to think of it. Because in the developing world countries, they're not always like sanitation and the safest area of commerce. So it could be like that too. It's disrespectful. You don't know how.
Yeah, I actually heard a story about someone who went to a dance in Europe. It was just like a sketchy dance, and someone came up and stabbed him with a needle. And on the needle it said, "Welcome to like HIV," and they ended up being HIV positive. So you can't just assume if someone has HIV they got it from sleeping around or being not doing the right thing. I guess you just have to be sensitive to their situation, and some people are born with it, like their mothers had it because their mothers had it, and just like goes down the line and stuff like that.
I really enjoyed how he talked about people that you wouldn't assume would have HIV are HIV positive. People that are well educated and people that have money. Normally you would think that people that were well educated would take the necessary steps and precautions to protect themselves. That they wouldn't share needles, that they would use clean needles, and that they would practice safe sex.
Well, it's interesting to me that people in like Tanzania, the people who have HIV are actually the wealthier people. And it's probably because they can afford more prostitutes or they can afford drugs, and so they get it that way. I just thought that was interesting.
I thought it was interesting too.
Just watching this video kind of on a separate note made me really thankful for the law of chastity and the commandments that we have. Because, I mean, we know that HIV is transmitted through sexual contact, but also through needles. And so we know that we should avoid drugs and also tattoos, which are prime ways that we can get HIV. And so I'm just really grateful that we have these commandments to help us, and so that we don't have to deal with these problems. And as we are living these gospel standards, we can expect that these blessings will come to us.
And I also think that even though we don't have a big problem in the LDS community with HIV, that at least in the United States that it is still prevalent, and that just because we feel that we're going to live the law of chastity doesn't mean that we can be ignorant. We still need to be educated on prevention and education.